What's up, everyone? Einscript here. Today we'll be talking about Baizhu, what I think of him, and is he worth it, or like what's his place in the meta right now. Basically everything about Baizhu and basically how I built him. I really tried to optimize this builds. I watched a lot of Genshin guides, and this is kind of a summarized version of what they talked about, plus my own input and my experience in using him. Obviously, there's a lot of pros and cons when using Baizhu, but I really tried to optimize his build in order to get rid of the annoying stuff that he has when you're playing him in his rotation, in his team. So let's get straight into it. I put my Baizhu talents at 188. I really think that Baizhu is more of an off-field healer slash shielder slash support. So I don't really think that it was worth leveling his normal attacks. If you want a danger driver, there's a character named Nahida for that you can really put a lot of EM into it, because EM is basically number one stat for really boosting those kind of elemental reactions with Dendro. There's also Alhaitham that you can use as well. When a character is built with EM, that's when you start using that character as a driver. So for me, I really did not think that Baizhu was worth the NA, but definitely I really felt that his E and his Q, which is his healing and shielding, was really worth it. So if you look at his universal diagnosis, the skill actually scale on 12.8% max HP. So at the moment, when I use the E, I get around 8 to 9k of healing, which is huge because he heals the entire team, not just himself. So when he heals himself, he heals the entire team, which I think is pretty broken. You don't have to be inside the circle to do that. He's very flexible. He's not really categorized as a circle impact kind of player. In regards to holistic revivifications, the shield is not as good. It's basically just there to refresh, to give a little bit of healing. So every time the shield comes down, you get a little bit of healing, which is 8.32% max HP, so around 6 to 7,000. But you can't rely on the shielding. It's more of increased resistance, because when you have a shield on, your resistance is increased. You don't get knockback or those kind of annoying things when you're facing like a big Hilichurl or someone that's just stomping on you. But it is worth leveling up, because you want this to be always on the field. And again, it has a lot of energy cost, which again was really annoying at times. So I made kind of a few adjustments on my Baizhu. If you have a look at our attributes, he scales a lot with HP. Again, his E skill, his Q, everything scaled with max HP. I tried to get him to 50,000. 50,000 is his cutoff. You can do a little bit more, but majority of the scaling, like the benefits that you can get with Baizhu, stops at 50. So around 50-ish. If you run him in double Dendro, double Hydro, my Baizhu is around 46k, and with that, I'm actually pretty happy. Elemental Mastery is only good if you're running him as a driver, but again, since I believe he's just more of a support. And then the biggest stat that I've honestly experimented on, really cared about, was actually the energy recharge. With his rotations, I found that when I was using another Dendro character in the team like Nahida or even Yao Yao, he still wasn't getting his burst back. And that's really annoying for me, because his shield and his healing is basically the sustain of the team, especially when you're running something like a Bloom, where when you proc your own Broom, you're basically killing yourself as well. So you want an uptime on that, plus also an uptime on the resistance. So if you're not getting that uptime on your burst, then you really need that energy recharge, so around 200%. I tried 180 energy recharge, and I had to make it so I'm catching other characters' energy particles. And for me, that's not good, because that stops my other characters from having their burst back, essentially. So I think 200 is a good baseline. It's a soft goal, basically. In regards to the artifacts, I used to use a 4-piece Ocean Hood. It was such a bad idea for me. I mean, it's pretty decent. You can definitely use 4-piece Ocean Hood, So you can get around 18,000 per bubble burst if you have him at like 50,000 and you're getting healing of like 8 to 10k. But at that point, I'm like, is it really worth it? Because I'm trading a lot of energy recharge, a lot of HP as well in that regards. I do get a lot of healing bonus, but I really believe that having emblem just to push my energy recharge to 200 was the best decision I've ever done with using Baizhu. So yeah, so I've got an energy recharge stance as well on top of the 20% from the 2-piece emblem Severed Fate. And then again, I use the Tenacity. I also thought of using Deepwood on Baizhu if you don't have another Deepwood character. In that case, I would still run energy recharge sands if you run a Deepwood, but for me, I usually run Baizhu with Nahida, and Nahida's on the Deepwood. There was no need for Baizhu to go on a 4-piece Deepwood because Nahida's basically doing all the work for that. And when I plan on pulling for Alhaitham or when I'm using Sino or Yaemiko, Sino and Yaemiko is ungilded. Nahida's usually the one on Deepwood, and for me, this is actually a really good build for him, so he doesn't lose out on the burst and all that stuff. Again, if you get some energy recharge substat, for example, here on your feather or your HP, you get like, crazy energy recharge subs, so like 20% for all of it. Maybe you won't need the energy recharge sense. You can go for HP sense. You can really push your HP to like 50k. But if you really want a quick and easy build, you want to use him immediately, then run an energy recharge sense and the rest as HP, and I think I'm pretty happy with that. In regards to the weapon, I think prototype Ember is honestly his best in slot, if not the 5-star. Using an elemental burst regenerates 6 energy every 2 seconds for 6 seconds for himself, and then all party members will regenerate 6% HP every 2 seconds, which is good. So it kind of buffs his job as a healer and at the same time helps with energy recharge. So I used to have prototype Ember at R1, and I think, okay, you know what, I have some spare billets, I might as well R5 it. I think it's worth it, definitely, because I don't really have any catalyst to refine or make, so I think this is a decision that I wouldn't regret in the future. Other weapons, I guess, would not really with Sid. Probably Nahida's weapon can be good. You can turn him into a driver as well. Here, sacrificial fragments. But what I think that good weapons for him would honestly be the Favonius Codex with energy recharge. If you run him with energy recharge, then you can run an HP Sands instead. And that kind of gives you a better quality of life for when you're using him in his rotation, in his team calm, all of that stuff. So for me, prototype Amber, you get the best of both worlds. You get an elemental burst recharge and also healing all your party members. By the way, I also have him as C0 because again, I'm not a whaler, but I do think his C1 and C2 is pretty good as well, just for quality of life. But Baizhu at C0 is pretty fine. Yeah, so that's what I think about him. Regarding his team comps, I think he's really good Hyper Bloom team. So basically with Sino, he's the character that allows Sino to shine, because again, with his increased resistance to interruption. And this also applies to Yaemiko. You can also run this guy with Alhaitham. Sino can also have a Hyper Bloom team if you run with Jelen. So basically aggravate, quicken team. Basically any danger kind of team is actually pretty good with Baizhu. So he also shines with Nilu, basically. And I will do a little showcase with the Bloom rotation. That's basically the team that I love to use the most. I have this love relationship with Bloom teams, and I think it's crazy strong. If you actually look at the weapon, if you are a whaler, I think Jade Full Splendor is a pretty good weapon for him. But I think what this is doing is basically the same as prototype Amber. So you get energy every 2.5 seconds. Again, this really coincides with skill, so this is tailor-made for him. And you get elemental damage bonus. Kind of makes him more of a driver. But again, if you're running him as a support slash shielder slash healer, then Baizhu is perfectly fine with prototype Ember. So that's how I optimize them. What we'll do is I'll do a little showcase run with Baizhu and the Abyss. So I've also got a pretty niche rotation with him. With the teams that I will be using, you can replace any of them with a 4-star character. So let me just put this on. Floor 12, usually I run a Nahida, Nilu, a Yelan, and then Baizhu. So here with this first off team that I'm using, you can replace Yelan with like something like Xingqiu. Nahida is really good on Bloom, and Nilo is basically his niche Bloom team. Basically, so if you don't have these two guys, then you're gonna basically run it with a Hyper Bloom instead. But I think this is honestly like a premium Bloom team, and because I'm really proud of this is something that I'm gonna be showing you guys. Like just how crazy fast it is.
Everyone hold hands. The Temple of Wisdom.
Quietly now. Game's up. Fine.
Remember, health comes first.
Sharing my knowledge. That, all my strength.
Gotcha. Here comes the catch.
Seems like an emergency.
Positions.
Busted.
Mind the sack.
Make yourselves at home.
Remember, health comes first.
All eyes on me. Yeah, yeah.
So that's how good he is. If you can see that he was applying a lot of resistance, we weren't getting knocked as much when the shield is on. Just basically a healing throughout his face. Sometimes I switch Baizhu for someone like Yao Yao because Yao Yao's got pretty good AoE danger application. But the difference between someone like Baizhu and Yao Yao is you can still switch Baizhu for your DPS character and still get healing, while for Yao Yao you need, with regards to her Q, which is basically her best healing ability, she has to stay on field for that. And that's the biggest difference between Baizhu and Yao Yao, where with Baizhu, he can stay on the field. And that is honestly what I think is a very exceptional ability. If you have any question, just let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching. Appreciate you guys. Really, really. Hopefully you guys get to build your Baizhu as well and really enjoy running him in your team comps.